Good evening, everyone. Tonight I'm speaking to Brittany. Brittany, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Okay, I'm doing great, and nice to meet you virtually. You have a very compelling story. I know you've been 14 years on Amazon, and you're suspended for which we'll talk about in a moment. But you've been suspended for 4 months, which sounds like a horrific communication process. And we're doing this video just because, I mean, first of all, we're desperate and we're hoping that someone on Amazon can see how this is affecting real people, US-based sellers who work very hard, who are by the book. And hopefully someone on Amazon can see it. They can take another look at your account and we can work together to improve the process so this shouldn't happen again. So tell us a little bit what happened and your background.
Thank you for the opportunity to have a voice here. I know you do a lot of great things for Amazon sellers, so thank you for that.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, so like you said, I'm a 14-year seller. I was doing six figures and at times seven figures a year. I sold an average of like 30,000 products a year. And this business was my entire livelihood and sole source of income. And I employed five people under me who I had to let go the day that I was suspended.
So walk us through I know 4 months ago you were suspended. You were never suspended. And you seem like a typical by the book US-based seller what Amazon should cherish. And they claim they do, and I think they do, but unfortunately, I always said with Amazon, nobody in Amazon is cruel, but cruel things happen, and therefore it's Amazon's responsibility. So walk us through the steps.
June 26th, I woke up to 42 listing policy violations in my account health dashboard. There was no email or anything that I received, and it said on each one to check my performance notifications for more information. There were zero performance notifications. So I called account health to search for more answers. And to my surprise, they were just as stumped as I was and could not give me any answers, find me any information. I was put on hold to try and get more information, just for her to come back and say, I didn't really find anything besides I see that there's a link here for a phone call that's set up. You have account health assurance, so you're not going to be shut down without them trying to work with you. So they have this link and I can't see anything about it, but they'll call you in the next 2 to 3 days. Sorry, that's all I can tell you. So I was like, okay, it's basically a waiting game. There's nothing I can do at this point. I woke up the next morning then on June 27th to a text message that said my account had been deactivated. So I obviously panicked and ran downstairs to, check my email and saw that I had been deactivated for violating bundling policy. I was not given the phone call that the lady said I would receive, and my account health assurance was revoked. So yeah, I basically like went and investigated the policy, which to see what I did wrong. But it was so vague and unclear that like compared to the hundreds of listings that were still available on Amazon, I didn't understand how mine were any different in violating this policy.
Right. So
So
Amazon would say to that is that two wrongs don't make a right. And my response always to that is, yeah, but no wrongs make a right. And tell me what my wrong is. And some of those listings you've had up since 2018, I think you said.
yeah.
Right. And on top of that, you were more than happy to stop selling those bundles. And you said you would even stop bundles and you would pivot. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, I would have been willing, given the phone call, to delete, fix, alter whatever they needed me to do to bring myself into compliance with their policy.
Of course, right. I mean, this is the rule, and if this is the rule, then of course, one phone call and life goes on. And instead, it causes, I mean, I think it's trauma. It's been life-changing. So tell us a little bit like how you've adjusted, or if you haven't adjusted, like the cascading effects that how many people got affected and how it affected you.
Oh gosh. I mean, yeah, it was obviously disheartening to let my employees go and let them know that there's no longer a job. I had a shipment set up to go out that day. So I had to call off UPS and cancel everything. Um, I went and talked to the landlord at the warehouse that I had been renting for the last 6 years and kind of let him know what happened and that I didn't know what it looked like, but I obviously can't afford to stay there for I don't know how long this process is going to go and if I'll get my account back. So I need to move out, as soon as possible. I had no idea how quickly I could get out, knowing that that was an overhead that I was stuck with. So I got everything, moved out of there and into my basement. So that's now, I luckily don't have to see it every day. But yeah, it's just been absolutely traumatic to have all of everything that I worked for just come crumbling to the ground overnight. And
For no reason, for no obvious reason.
right, like no explanation. I didn't get the call. I didn't like there was no recourse. So yeah.
Right. So let me ask you another question because you're selling 14 years, and I really hope someone on Amazon sees it and at a minimum calls Brittany. I mean, this is really, really unfair. I don't know how anyone can see this and think this is, anybody wins and everybody loses here. But like up until you're selling 14 years, I mean, I've been in the online space even longer than that. What would you say, like the the trajectory is? Like, were you happy with Amazon selling up to that point, or do you feel that Amazon was slacking in dealing with legitimate third-party sellers?
I think overall, throughout the 14 years for maybe the 10 or 11, that the trajectory and outlook was very good. I felt like they worked with sellers very well. It wasn't until very recently, the last few years, that you saw more of these type of cases of, the good people, bad things happening to good people in that
Yeah.
way. And just, various injustices, along with little like nuanced things like them checking in a 40-pound box and saying it was empty, that case closed, investigation closed, we didn't find any of your items. Just completely wild, confusing things that were happening, and like day notices for hard gating where I and other sellers had thousands of inventory of dollars of inventory of, a brand tied up and in FBA warehouses that they literally had till tomorrow to remove. So just like the blunt no warning thing becoming so common recently was terrifying.
Yeah, the injustice is what really gets me upset because there's no upside. Of course, if someone's selling counterfeit, of course, no warning, no nothing, of course.
Yes.
But that's not the case over here. And all Amazon has to do is one phone call to Brittany and any issues they could delete, she'll delete any listings. And it's very frustrating. And I hope someone on Amazon sees this and just does the right thing. Even if you don't reinstate, just to communicate one phone call. I mean, I'm sure if this gets looked into, this will be reinstated. Anything else you want to say in closing to whoever's going to see this at Amazon?
I mean, I think that really I'd like to say two things. The bundling policy change that just came out a couple weeks ago, where sellers are given a grace period of and a courtesy of 30 days, and that nothing will be enforced until late Q4 2024. I feel like, given my longevity with them, I should have been given that same opportunity as the other sellers. And two, that there were vague pieces of the bundling policy that, there was a poll on Twitter that asked if the Amazon bundling policy was clear or not, and 84% of people said no. And along with a listing that someone brought up that where Amazon themselves was violating their own bundling policy. That listing has since been shut down. since that post, which should tell us everything that we need to know about it being unclear. So I just wish I would have been given the time and the opportunity to make things right and come into compliance, because not everybody that was or is still doing this has been shut down.
Right. I think it's outrageous. And I mean, if Amazon would reinstate you in the next couple of days, I mean, could you rebuild or is it, or are you,
I would, and I could. They have completely emptied my selling account. All my listings are gone. I think that I could, like, reactivate them. Obviously, the ones that are in policy, I wouldn't bundle anymore. I would love to have it back though, and have been given the opportunity to do so.
yeah, and I think they're holding some funds you mentioned, right?
Yes. Yes, they still do have some funds of mine.
Yeah, that's outlandish. That's outlandish. So hopefully someone sees it and it could be a great, I mean, it's terrible even if it gets reinstated, but it could be some kind of positive experience. So Amazon can adjust the processes. Like I said, nobody gains. And I appreciate you coming on, and I hope someone in Amazon sees this and at a minimum contacts Brittany. Okay, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ed.
Bye.
Appreciate it.